What if the most dangerous thing in the world wasn't malice, but the quiet, smiling spread of ignorance dressed as certainty? What if the most destructive forces in history didn't march in under banners of hatred, but slipped in unnoticed through the laughter of the crowd, the applause of the majority, the warm embrace of belonging? We live in an age of unprecedented knowledge. At the press of a finger, a library larger than any emperor's dream unfolds before us. And yet, stupidity, not just error, but the viral, performative kind, moves faster than truth, deeper than reason, and sometimes louder than wisdom itself. This is not new. The philosophers of antiquity knew it well. Marcus Aurelius warned that the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth. Plato told the story of the cave, where prisoners, chained in darkness, mistake shadows for reality and resent the one who tries to lead them toward the light. And Nietzsche, gazing into the currents of modernity, saw the herd moving as one body, not because they were right, but because they were together. But why? Why is the human mind, capable of invention, art, mathematics, and moral law, so vulnerable to the spread of foolishness? Why does the spark of one reckless idea often ignite faster than the slow, deliberate light of truth? To answer this, we must go back, far back, beyond history, beyond philosophy, into the primal architecture of the human brain. Before cities, before writing, before philosophy itself, our ancestors roamed in small tribes. Survival did not depend on accuracy, it depended on belonging. A false belief shared by the tribe could be less deadly than an inconvenient truth that got you exiled. The instinct for cohesion became more important than the instinct for correction. It was better, evolutionarily better, to be wrong with the group than right and alone. The wolf that leaves the pack is meat before winter ends. The human who breaks the consensus becomes a stranger in their own village. This ancient bargain is still in our blood. It is why even the educated can repeat absurdities if their community believes them. It is why the consensus can feel safer than evidence, and why dissent, even when it holds the truth, feels like a threat. History bears grim witness to this. In Athens, the birthplace of democracy, the majority once voted to execute Socrates. In medieval Europe, countless men and women were burned for witchcraft, condemned not by evil masterminds, but by neighbors who genuinely believed they were defending their community from unseen harm. And today? Today, this ancient instinct wears digital armor. We call it trending, we call it viral, but at its core it is the same old mechanism, the preference for shared belief over tested truth. Only now the campfire stories are told on screens that fit in our palms, and the audience is not 50 villagers, but millions. What makes stupidity viral is not that people suddenly become irrational. It is that our minds, designed for survival in a different age, are repurposed by forces that reward speed over accuracy, emotion over reason, and belonging over truth. You have felt it yourself. The headline that makes you angry, the meme that makes you laugh at the other side, the video that confirms what you already believe, and so you share it without asking, is it even true? And in that moment, the ancient instinct triumphs again. But here's the unsettling truth. The instinct is older than lies, older than politics, older than the internet. It is not a glitch, it is a feature. It is why Plato's prisoners stayed in the cave. It is why entire empires have collapsed under the weight of their own illusions. And it is why, unless we understand it, the modern world, with all its intelligence, will repeat the same mistakes with greater speed and greater scale than ever before. The instinct has many names in modern psychology: social conformity, groupthink, emotional contagion. But in its oldest form, it was simply the law of survival. The tribe's truth is your truth, or you will not survive to tell your own. Evolutionary psychologists tell us that for over 95% of human history, our ancestors lived in groups rarely larger than 100 people. In such an environment, disagreement was not an intellectual exercise, it was a threat to cohesion. The wrong opinion could mean exile, and exile often meant death. The brain, shaped by millennia of such pressures, learned to prize harmony over accuracy, affirmation over investigation. Plato understood this long before neuroscience. In his Allegory of the Cave, those who dwell in darkness mock the man who has seen the sun, not because they are malicious, but because his truth disrupts the only reality they know. The prisoners prefer the comfort of agreement to the disquiet of enlightenment. It is an ancient metaphor for what psychologists today call cognitive dissonance, the tension we feel when faced with ideas that threaten our worldview. Aristotle, too, noted this in his Politics. He warned that the stability of the polis could be undermined by the passions of the crowd, especially when those passions fed on each other unchecked. His answer was not to abolish public opinion, but to discipline it, to cultivate virtue, reason, and the slow practice of deliberation. Nietzsche was harsher. He spoke of the herd not as an insult to the common man, but as an observation of our shared animal instinct. The herd is not evil, it is safe. It does not reward the one who wanders too far. Nietzsche's warning was that this safety dulls the edge of individual thought, making the comfortable lie preferable to the dangerous truth. Carl Jung gave this instinct a different frame. In the collective unconscious, that shared psychological inheritance we all carry, the archetype of the wise elder competes with the tribal chief. The wise elder seeks truth beyond the group, the tribal chief demands unity within it. In times of uncertainty, the chief's voice wins, because it promises survival now, while wisdom promises only questions. Modern psychology adds precision to these intuitions. The Asch conformity experiments of the 1950s showed that 3 out of 4 people will give an answer they know is wrong if everyone else in the group does. It is not that they suddenly believe the falsehood. It is that the social discomfort of standing apart feels worse than the discomfort of being wrong. This is the same principle that fueled witch hunts, heresy trials, and political purges. People did not need to be coerced into believing absurdities. They needed only to see that their neighbors believed them. Once the belief became a signal of loyalty, questioning it became an act of betrayal. The ancient instinct thrives in uncertainty. When the world feels unstable, whether in a famine, a plague, or an economic crisis, our tolerance for complexity shrinks. We seek leaders who will simplify, who will point to a single cause, a single enemy, a single cure. In such moments, truth competes poorly with clarity. The simple, wrong story beats the complex, accurate one, because it feels safer to hold. This is why, in ancient Athens, a philosopher could be executed for corrupting the youth, while demagogues could win crowds with slogans. It is why in Rome, senators could cheer the erosion of their own republic if it meant stability for the moment. It is why, across centuries, entire cultures have embraced the foolishness of the day, not because they were incapable of thought, but because the ancient instinct told them that survival depended on thinking together. And here is the irony. The very instinct that allowed small tribes to endure the wilderness now leaves vast civilizations vulnerable to collective error. The same cohesion that once kept us alive can, at scale, spread mistakes faster than any truth can catch them. But the danger is not just that stupidity spreads, it is that it feels right when it spreads. Each repetition, each nod of agreement, each like and share sends a signal to our brain that the belief is safe, that it belongs. The mind mistakes familiarity for truth and unity for wisdom. This is the core of the ancient instinct. It is not stupidity in the sense of low intelligence. It is a form of loyalty, of psychological self-defense. And in an age where information travels faster than thought, It has become a loyalty to speed, to simplicity, to the comfort of being on the winning side of a viral idea. In the ancient world, the instinct that bound the tribe traveled no faster than the messenger on foot or the rumor in the market square. Even at its most feverish, it was slowed by the limits of distance and time. A foolish belief might capture a village, but it would take weeks, months, or years before it reached the next one. Today, that same belief can circle the globe in seconds. The instinct has not changed, only the speed and scale of its stage. And speed changes everything. The human brain is built for a pace of life where we could question, observe, and absorb information gradually. When we encounter something new, our nervous system still reacts as though a quick decision might be a matter of survival. This is why, in the digital age, the first emotion a story triggers often becomes the deciding factor in whether it is believed or shared. And those who design our platforms know this. Social media does not simply allow the ancient instinct to operate, it engineers for it. Algorithms are built to notice what we react to most intensely: outrage, joy, fear, pride, and to feed us more of it. What goes viral is not what is most accurate, but what is most emotionally contagious. Consider the MIT study from 2018. False news spreads 6 times faster than the truth online, not because people are too lazy to fact-check, but because false stories are often designed to be emotionally richer, simpler, and more satisfying than the messy, nuanced truth. The ancient instinct loves clarity, and so it clicks, shares, and amplifies. But the real danger is not in the one false post you see, it's in the echo chamber that follows. Once the algorithm detects your agreement, it builds you a digital cave, like Plato's, but with walls made of your own preferences. Inside it, you hear only the voices that reflect your belief back to you. The longer you stay, the more your mind mistakes repetition for reality. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, the tendency to seek and trust only the information that confirms what we already believe. In the ancient world, this bias meant you trusted the stories of your own tribe. In the modern one, it means you trust the curated feed on your screen, unaware that it has been tuned to reinforce your existing worldview. And so the ancient instinct, once a small fire, becomes an inferno. Political campaigns exploit it with slogans that feel like moral truth. Conspiracy theories feed it with narratives that make the believer feel like part of a heroic in-group. Advertisers tap into it with brands that signal belonging rather than usefulness. This is why even intelligent, educated people can fall into the spiral. A scientist can share a flawed claim if it resonates with their ideological tribe. A journalist can publish a skewed story if it pleases their audience. A parent can repost a false medical tip if it promises to protect their child. The ancient instinct does not ask for evidence. It asks, does this keep me with my people? And in a world where my people can now mean millions of strangers bound by hashtags, the pull is stronger than ever. The tribe is no longer your village, it is an online nation that never sleeps. A crowd that applauds instantly, a chorus that rewards your agreement with visibility and status. Virality turns the ancient instinct into a feedback loop. The more you share what the tribe likes, the more you are rewarded. The more you are rewarded, the more likely you are to share again. Over time, the act of questioning becomes costly, not just socially but economically, especially for those whose livelihoods depend on engagement, influence, or public approval. And here lies the modern twist. In the ancient world, the chief or priest who guided belief was human. You could see their motives, suspect their bias, or challenge their word. In the digital world, much of the chief's power has passed to the algorithm, an unblinking, profit-driven mechanism that knows only how to amplify what holds your attention. It does not care if the idea is true or false, noble or vile. It only cares that it spreads, and the ancient instinct, eager for belonging, does the rest. This is why modern stupidity is not just faster, but more resilient. You can debunk a claim, but you cannot easily dismantle the network of emotional reinforcement that made it go viral in the first place. You can present facts, but if those facts threaten the identity of the group, the ancient instinct will treat them as an attack, and the tribe will close ranks. We have reached a point where the architecture of our digital world has fused with the architecture of our primal brain, and in that fusion, the instinct that once helped 100 hunters survive is steering the beliefs of billions. How do you step out of the cave when the shadows are no longer chained by stone walls, but dance freely in the glowing glass of every screen you touch? And can you resist, not just once, but every day, in a world that rewards the opposite? If the ancient instinct is written into the marrow of our being, then fighting it is not a matter of deleting an app or avoiding the news. It is a matter of rewiring how we think, moment by moment, until the reflex to conform becomes the discipline to question. The philosophers of old understood this. Marcus Aurelius trained himself daily to separate what was in his control from what was not. He knew the roar of the crowd was beyond his reach, but the governance of his own mind was his sovereign duty. "You have power over your mind," he wrote, "not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Socrates did not merely reject popular opinion, he examined it relentlessly, asking questions until the comfortable lies unraveled under their own weight. His method was not aggression, but curiosity sharpened into a blade. He knew that the unexamined belief, no matter how widely shared, was a chain as heavy as ignorance. Jung, for his part, would say that to resist the tribe's illusions, you must first face the shadow within yourself. The part of you that longs for certainty, for belonging, for the easy answer. Without acknowledging that this desire lives in you, you will mistake it for truth every time it is offered to you from the outside. In modern psychology, we might call this metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. It is the habit of stepping back from your immediate reaction and asking, why do I believe this? What would make me change my mind? This is the mental pause that interrupts the reflex, giving the rational mind space to work before the tribal mind takes over. But awareness alone is not enough. Bonhoeffer, whose warning about the power of stupidity still chills the careful reader, spoke of costly grace, the willingness to act on truth even when it costs you comfort, safety, or popularity. In our age, costly grace might mean refusing to share a post that flatters your side but distorts reality. It might mean questioning your own group's cherished narratives, knowing it could make you less welcome among them. This is not easy. Thinking independently is not a single act of rebellion. It is a discipline, like the body of a trained warrior or the craft of a master artisan. It must be practiced daily, not in grand speeches, but in the smallest moments, in the hesitation before you click share, in the choice to read the opposing view, in the humility to say, I don't know. We also need structures that make this discipline easier. The Stoics gathered in philosophical schools to sharpen each other's thinking. Medieval scholars engaged in disputation, testing ideas like swords against shields. In the modern world, this could mean surrounding yourself with people who value truth over tribal victory, even if they disagree with you. It could mean seeking media that challenges you rather than flatters you, deliberately stepping outside your algorithmic comfort zone. On a larger scale, we must demand transparency from the architects of our digital environment. Platforms that profit from our attention should reveal how they shape what we see, and educational systems must teach not just facts, but the skills of discernment. We should fund and protect spaces, online and offline, where complexity is not punished and quick outrage is not rewarded. But here is the paradox. The moment you believe yourself immune to the ancient instinct, you have already begun to fall under its spell. The guard must never drop. Eternal vigilance, not against them, but against your own reflexes, is the only lasting defense. Ask yourself, when was the last time you changed your mind on something important? If the answer is, I can't remember, the instinct may already be at work, whispering that your tribe's truth is the only truth. Ask again, if I woke tomorrow and found my closest allies were wrong, could I bear the weight of standing alone? The cost of that choice will not be small. Those who step out of the cave are often met with suspicion, ridicule, even hostility. But every civilization that has moved forward, every age of reform, every renaissance, began with a few who refused to mistake the comfort of the crowd for the clarity of truth. And so the question becomes the same one Bonhoeffer asked, standing against the tidal force of his own time. Who stands fast? Not when it is easy, not when the crowd cheers you for it, but when the pressure to conform is overwhelming, when the lie is more beautiful than the truth, when thinking independently feels like exile. If you choose to stand fast, know that you will stand largely unseen. The victory will not be measured in applause, but in the quiet certainty that your mind remains your own. That is the true rebellion, not the loud defiance of shouting at the herd, but the silent discipline of refusing to follow it blindly. The ancient instinct that makes stupidity go viral is as old as humanity. It will not vanish in our lifetime, but in every moment you are given a choice, to surrender to it or to meet it with the slow, patient work of thought. And in that choice, repeated again and again, lies the fragile hope that reason, even in an age of noise, might still endure.